Hi guys, today we're going to talk about the most commonly asked questions about wheels and tires. A little change of scenery today. We're actually sitting in our customer waiting area, and next to me is the Ace Alloy AFF 10 19 by 9.5 plus 20 offset wheel. Did you understand everything I just said there? So let's go over these numbers real quick. 19 by 9.5 means the diameter of the face is 19 inches. 9.5 refers to how wide the wheel is. And then the plus 20 offset tells you how much the center of the wheel is offset. So this is actually offset from the center by 20 millimeters. So how does all these numbers actually affect the way the wheel fits onto your car? We're going to answer those questions today. Okay, so now you're shopping for your new set of wheels. You figured out what diameter you want, you figured out what width you want, but when it comes to offset, it's like alien language, right? There's a simple way to look at it. So zero offset, that basically means where the back of the wheel meets the hub is in the direct center of your wheel. Now if your offset is positive, that means that part where the wheel actually meets the hub is to the outer side of the center of the wheel, and if it's in the negative, it's on the inner side of the wheel. So plus 20 offset basically means the wheel itself, the center of the wheel itself, is 20 millimeters out more on the wheel, which actually results in the wheel sinking in 20 millimeters more when mounted onto the car. When you go to the negative 20 side, it's the opposite. So it makes the wheel itself stick out 20 millimeters more because the center of the wheel is actually sticking inside more. So I'll try to see if we can get a diagram up here so you can kind of see what we're talking about. So if you're looking at your OEM wheels on your car, one thing you do notice is that they do sit inside the fenders quite a bit. Most vehicles will run 15 to 20 millimeters inside the fender. And when you buy your new set of wheels, you want that to actually come out slightly more. So let's say, for example, your OEM wheel is 19 by 8.5 plus 30 offset. You want that same width wheel, but you want it to come out 15 millimeters more, then you need to go purchase a plus 15 offset. So you went from a plus 30 to a plus 15. There's a 15 millimeter difference. And by going to a smaller number than what it was, it makes the wheel stick out to the outside of the fender more. Makes sense, right? Now, if you understood how I was explaining it, great. If it's still confusing to you, I'm going to have diagrams and things following up on this video so you can actually visualize what we're talking about here. I will also post links below where you can actually go in, put in your OEM spec wheel versus the spec wheel you want, and it'll tell you exactly how much the wheel will stick out, how much inner fender clearance you will have, and things like that. So you could use that to determine what kind of wheels you want next on your vehicle. Now let's move on to tires. There's also three numbers on the tires. First number, for example, 225 would mean is 225 millimeters wide. Second number, 30. What does that mean? Does it mean it's 30 millimeters tall? No, it actually means the sidewall is 30% of the width. So it doesn't actually mean 30 millimeters. So keep that in mind. The first number is millimeters. The second number is percent. And then the third number is the diameter of the wheel. So 225, 30, 20. That means you have a 225 millimeter width. 30% of that width is the height of the actual sidewall, and it fits onto a 20-inch wheel. So keep that in mind. Now, a lot of people would say, oh, I want bigger sidewall. Okay, but also keep in mind, by going from a 30 to a 35, it doesn't mean you're increasing by 5 millimeters. It also means it's increasing by 5% more of your width. It's a lot of calculations you have to do, but again, I will post the links below where you can do that as well without having to worry too much. It will show you by punching in the numbers of your tire sizes that you're looking at what the overall diameter will come out to be. So you're not throwing off your speedometer, you're not throwing off any traction control issues and things like that. So you'll be able to calculate that on your own, figure out what kind of tire sizes will work best for you on the set of wheels that you want to run as well. So instead of me just rambling on about how these numbers work, keep watching and I'll follow up with all the diagrams and the videos you need. Okay, so I've pulled up this website here to explain to you the different numbers that you're going to need to know. So first thing here, tire size. The first number refers to the width of your tire, which is actually in millimeters. So if you look down here, just follow my mouse here, and 245 millimeters is the width of your tire from outer edges. Okay, the 35, a lot of people mistake this for millimeters, but it actually means 35% of the width. The 19 is the actual diameter of the wheel that it is going on. Now that we've over to the wheel size, the 9.5, 9, 8.5, the second number on the wheel is always the width in inches. So 9.5 inches wide, and do not make this mistake, it's not the outer edge of the wheels they're measuring, it's actually the inner lip of the wheel. So the wheel itself, when you bring it home, actually might be wider than what you're expecting, because the 9.5 of the inside of the wheel. ET, this is what we call offset. Okay, so a lot of times you'll see 0, 35, 50, things like that. When it's at 0 offset, if you see this line right here, that's 0 offset. It's in the dead center of the wheel. What happens when we do this? Let's go to -20. You see how that moved? So the center portion where the wheel actually meets the hub is now inside the wheel more, which in turn pushes the wheel itself out more. Now if we go to the positive number, it does the exact opposite. So now we're actually 20 millimeters out more, which actually pushes the wheel 20 millimeters in more. Okay, I'll show that again just in case it's confusing. So 0 is center. If we go negative, let's go -30 this time. 30 millimeters in more where the wheel actually mounts to the hub, which results in the wheel actually sticking out 30 millimeters more towards the edge of the fender. If we go positive, the exact opposite. The center of the wheel where it actually meets the hub goes to the outer edge of the wheel more, which ends up pushing the wheel inside the fender more. So let's say this is your vehicle right now, and your OEM setting, the most common setting would be about 18 by 7.5 with 225 tires on it. Okay, so this is pretty common size. Now you want to put some 19s on your car. How do you go about doing that? Let's go to the right here. Let's take a look at what we can do. First thing we can do is put 19 in it. You want to jump up an inch on the width, right? You're doing a aftermarket wheel, so might as well go a little bigger. So, but now you got to figure out what tire size you want. So let's see. We plugged in a 30 sidewall on a 225. We're off quite a bit on the overall diameter of things. So let's see. 35, 40. Notice this right now. So the tire size, 225, 45, 225, 40. If you read it up to just here, the tire on the left should be taller, right? But the tire on the right is actually taller because it's on a 19-inch wheel versus an 18-inch wheel. So 25.9 inches tall versus 26.1 inches tall. So if you want to put it on a 19, notice how we went down by 5% on the sidewall. That's going to be probably your closest bet. So, because if we did a 45, just like we did on the, just like the OEM sizing here, you're jumping up by almost a little over an inch on the sidewall, and you'll run into rubbing issues and, of course, the speedometer issues as well. So now this also changes. Let's say if we decide to go a little wider on the tire. So we decide to go to 235s. Now because it's 40% of 235, look how much the overall diameter has changed. So maybe it's time we jump back down Hey, look, now we're actually smaller than OEM. You think we can go a little higher? 245, 35, 19 is now as close as you're going to get. Okay, so right now the perfect size for upgrading your 18 by 7.5 to 18 by 8.5 would actually be going a little wider on the tire, 245, and actually smaller when it comes to the sidewall to a 35% instead of 45%. So overall diameter, you're looking at 25.9 on the OEM. The new setup is going to be 25.8. So your speedometer and everything should be very, very close. So if we scroll down here, it'll tell you exactly what it's going to be. So when the speedometer reaches 60 miles per hour, actual speed will be 59.6 miles per hour, 0.7% store. So basically your speedometer will work the way it was intended. Now, if you look here, it also tells you right now the package 2, which is the wheel that we did on the right side, is 15 millimeters closer to the suspension and brake components, which is acceptable for more cars, and that happens because it's an inch wider than the OEM wheel. It says it will stick off 5 millimeters further. Let's say you actually want the wheel to stick off 15 millimeters further. So you look at your offset here, we're at 40. So in order for 5 millimeters to get to 15 millimeters, we need 10 more millimeters. So we take 40 minus 10, 30. Let's scroll back down, see what it says. Package 2 will stick off 15 millimeters further, acceptable for most cars. So this is how you determine what offset, what width, what tire you want to run without compromising how the car behaves. So you don't have to worry about your traction control going all haywire, because usually that is actually caused by messing with the overall diameter of the wheel, which right now we're as close as we're going to be to the OEM specs. Okay. Now this applies to your front and rear wheels. So even if you have a staggered setup, I mean, you could always change this to your OEM rear wheel setup and then figure out what your rear wheel is going to be for your aftermarket setup. So I hope that really helps today. I'm actually going to link this on the bottom of the video, so you'll be able to do this on your own. If I haven't answered all the questions you have today, please leave a comment. We'll follow up with you. We'll make sure we get all your questions answered. All right, thanks for watching the video today. Make sure to like and subscribe. Thanks.